Hi folks, welcome back to the Hoard. So, read on. Today's shout out is for WTBM123. And the reason why I'm giving Terry a shout out is when I posted the video on this engine that you don't see here right now, I mentioned the rings were stuck. He volunteered that if you put a little heat on the rings with a propane torch, they'd come loose. I had already futzed around with the rings quite a bit with a probe and a tiny screwdriver, a jeweler's screwdriver, and a few other things, and I couldn't get them loose. So I was about to give up and just put it back together again with the top ring stuck, right? I didn't want to break it, you know. I didn't want to scratch things up, so I was just going to say, to heck with it, let me put it together with the top ring stuck. But WTBM123, his propane torch idea freed the ring right up, the top ring. It freed up. I was able to get it loose. I was able to clean it up. I was able to put it back on. I cleaned up, obviously, where the ring seals around the piston also. So I took care of those things and I got it back together, and as a matter of fact, I'll show you that in a few minutes. So for WTBM123, go take a look at his channel. Terry works on cars, I think, for a living. And I wish he lived close, because whenever I have something exotic going on, I'd love to be able to swing by and talk to him. Like when I was having emissions problems with that Corolla over there, I described what was going wrong, and he told me instantly what it was, how much a new valve would cost, and all that. It turns out it needed the three-way emission valve or two-way evap valve, or whatever the heck it's called. So, yeah, It literally, I wish he lived close. It would be great. He could help me out with my cars and so forth. This video, what's it about? It's about, I'm doing a quick review, and I want to do it today because this thing right now is on sale at Lowe's. It's $39.95. When I use my credit card at Lowe's, they give me 5% off. So it's normally $49.95. So anyway, you guys could see it, and here it is in action. I happen to like the color of light. It's not quite that color, but it's not that bright white color. It also comes with a nice little push string, and I think that this thing that says LED, I think you guys could see it. That kind of glows in the dark. And the good thing about it is you see the light is on, and when I turn up my radio...
Anyway, that's the sardonic apology of Senator Ted Cruz.
You don't hear any static. It does have a 3-prong plug on it. And my problem probably is... Actually, it might have a 3-prong plug on it, but I'm not using 3 prongs, right? I mean... but I'm not getting any static on the radio. The lights, this is just a standard fixture, right? 48-inch fixture that I put LED bulbs in, and I mean it just makes static to beat the hounds. When you read the books on these things, there's a little book that comes with it. It tells you to, that there might be some RF trouble, but there really wasn't any. So anyway, there's the serial number. You go right to Lowe's, and once again, normally $49.95, on sale for $39.95, and I don't know anything else you guys need to see from this. I guess it burns I mean, that's all the details on it. Puts out plenty of good light, obviously, right? I mean, there's no shortage of light in here. If I close these down, you guys might notice it a little more. Might as well give you guys the full dark treatment. It's not a very bright day out anyway, right? We got this whole cloudy, overcast thing going on. I guess my thing is, especially for you guys like with real. Here, let me shut that one down. So this is just that light. Right, this place has no windows, so it's completely dark. Normally, a good test is whether or not you could read things. Yeah, let me. Here we go. Right. I mean, you got plenty of light to read that. And let's go to the dark section, the dark part. Right, you still have enough light to read it. Oh, we had a mouse mess with my mouse trap and it had a bad day. All right, folks, so please, guys, save some electricity. You know, get the mercury out of your house, right? Get those fluorescent lights out of your house. Though when I was a kid, I used to go to Catholic school, and as part of the playground, they used to get rid of stuff right there. You know, the fluorescent lights or whatever. They'd put them right in the trash, and you know, as kids and being stupid and all like we were, we'd pick up those fluorescent lights and have sword fights with them. And then we discovered that if you put down paper when you broke them and you tilted them and leaned them, you could actually get little piles of mercury out of that. So then we'd try to save the mercury, you know. It would evaporate fairly quickly. And I guess mercury itself, if you touch it, it's not a skin exposure thing. I think it's more of a vapor inhalation thing. Though don't screw with mercury. There's no reason to. But when we were kids, we used to mess with that all the time. I don't know. How did it affect me? I'm going to be 58 soon. If I have cancer next year, it might be due to the mercury. If I live to 80 or 100, and even though I messed with mercury when I was, you know, between the ages of 5 and 12 years old, I guess it didn't hurt me bad. Oh, just quickly, I got a couple of minutes here. There was a really interesting Craigslist ad. It was out of Saugerties, New York, up by Albany there. A guy had, or has, a Honda. It's a Foreman 450 ES. ES means electric shift. It's a 4x4. He only wants $500 for it. That's all the good news. The bad news is the thing was completely submerged in a flood. Completely submerged, as in underwater beyond the handlebars. $500. Very interesting. The problem with it is, one of the reasons why, you know, I was kind of going back and forth on the 50-50, and it's a fairly new one too. It's a 2005, so it's an 05. The reason why I decided not to go anywhere near it is specifically it has electric shift. To me, that means it probably has more electronics in it than most of these have. This guy here, to get completely submerged, not that that would be a good thing, but you know, you kind of take the engine apart and you got to do more or less like I had to do with this thing. Except you'd probably have to go further. You'd probably have to completely tear it apart and get into the engine and transmission. Given that it's a 4x4, you got both front end and rear end to redo. I mean, you might get away with the front end or the rear end, or possibly both. Maybe didn't take water in, or maybe they did. You don't know. The cylinder, you know, if it didn't take it in through the intake, it probably took it in through the exhaust. So my guess is it took water in. And as a matter of fact, you got to hope that they didn't try to turn it over, because if they tried to turn it over, at the minimum, they screwed up the starter. At the maximum, they screwed up everything, right? You know, you try to compress water and things like your piston, you break the connecting rod, you know, your piston connecting rod, or you strip the gears to your starter, right? I mean, you can really make a mess out of a bike if you try to start it after it's water. If it's running, I guess we call it hydraulicking the engine. If it's not running, I don't know. You hydraulic the engine while trying to start it. Whichever way you twist it and turn it. But for $500, it was an interesting deal. Given the fact, once again, that it was in a flood and it specifically mentioned completely submerged, that means even stuff like the seat, right? I mean, how quick did they get it out of the water? I mean, has it been sitting for a long time? The last flood in that area was quite a number of years ago. We've here on the East Coast and up in there really hasn't been any rain events, any storms. As a matter of fact, we're kind of in a drought. So I'm not quite sure what to think of that. I think it's probably been sitting for quite a while. But it was interesting, you know, for $500, for somebody with a whole load of time and wants themselves a really great winter project, you know, you bring something like that, you know, you set it up on a bench like this, and you start off by pulling off the wheels and tires and figuring out what kind of shape they're in. Take a look at the brakes, right? And that thing has probably a drum in the back, but you know, you go through the brakes, the axles, the front end. You want to definitely keep it in out of the cold, because if you got any water in the frame, right, in the frame rails, if it freezes, you could break things. As a matter of fact, it might even pay to drill a couple of tiny holes in the bottom and, you know, blow some air through to make sure you don't have water in there. It's got to be a 2005. If it's in decent runnable shape, that's got to be a, you know, between $2,000 and $3,000 bike. You know, call it $2,500. If it's a little ugly, call it $2,000. If it's pretty, call it $3,000. Maybe even as high as $3,500. So, yeah, I mean, new, it's a $7,000 bike. So, what are you buying? A 10-year-old bike? I guess it's not a baby anymore. Anyway, this is getting to be a long video. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks to all of you who've made it to the end. Remember to keep your feet down, keep your head up. Go see Terry, WTBM123. He's got a lot of cool stuff going on over there. And folks, please get out there and enjoy all your days. Don't let a single day get by without enjoying it, because that's one less you'll have. Bye now.